there, garden friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. Slight change. There we go. That's a little bit better. Slight change of plans today. I really feel like the priority at this point, because we're about to get like 5 days of rain and wind. Yay, rain! Wind, not so much until I get the end walls done. So what I'm going to do out here today, because the weeding and stuff, whatever, that can wait. That's not a priority. So I'm going to take all my measurements and then try to go get some lumber. I need my husband's help for that because we've got to strap it to the roof, and I'm not very skilled at that. I haven't really done much of that, and I'm afraid that I don't want to lose it on the highway. So I want to get that done. And then even if it's raining tomorrow when we come out to put it up, it's not a big deal because we'll be inside in the tunnel. So I think it'll go pretty quickly. So I just need to take measurements, make a sketch. And so I'll do that in a few minutes. But the other thing I wanted to talk about is that I finally have accepted that my Lyme disease is relapsing. I've been suspecting something for a couple of weeks now, but now my body is basically not allowing me to deny it anymore. So I've started my Lyme treatment all over again. So I was an archaeologist for almost 20 years, and I had frequently, this was in the late 80s into the 90s and early 2000s, and I consistently had tick bites and all that kind of stuff, and I never ever had a bullseye rash or immediate, as far as I know, any flu-like symptoms immediately after a tick bite that I could, but back then not much was known about Lyme disease, and we kind of all thought it was in the Northeast. That was like the idea. Now we know it's everywhere. But anyway, so nothing really came of that. And then in the mid 2000s, a couple years after my second child was born, I started having a lot of weird symptoms. Random joint swellings, like I started with my right knee, full of fluid, like big bag of fluid on my knee. I could barely walk on it. It was drained 3 separate times by 3 different rheumatologists and all tested. And, I had like moving joint pain. So it would start in this wrist for 2 weeks, and then it would vanish and it would go to the other wrist, or, an ankle, or burning, tingling scalp, air hunger. So I had feeling I couldn't get a full breath, which I'm kind of suffering from right now, actually. That actually is a co-infection of Lyme, not necessarily Lyme. Heart palpitations, crushing exhaustion, major brain fog, hard time finding words, just a whole bunch of different symptoms. And I went to so many doctors. It took 5 years and like multiples of doctors until I finally got a diagnosis. I started seeing a functional doctor who put me on an autoimmune protocol diet to address my symptoms. And that worked, that started working. I started feeling better, and then I crashed really hard again. Oh, and during this time also, my migraines were out of control, like crushing ones. A couple times I thought I should go to the hospital. They were that bad. So I was seeing a neurologist, I had an epidemiologist, I had an endocrinologist, a rheumatologist, all of them taking lots of blood, doing lots of tests, and all of them coming back to me either saying it's all in your head, or I finally had a rheumatologist who said, look, something horrible is going on in your body, but it's not showing up on any of our tests. I don't know what to tell you at this point, other than you've got something really bad going on, and we just don't have any way of figuring it out. Okay. So that's when I decided to go see this functional doctor. And she, of course, ran a whole bunch of tests as well. And, I started, like I said, on the AIP diet, I started feeling a little bit better. And that was good. But then when everything tanked again, she said, I suspect maybe we're dealing with infectious disease. No one had even thought of that. So we did a Lyme disease panel, and sure enough, I had Lyme disease, as well as every one of the co-infections that you can have with it. So she then sent me to, she's like, look, this is out of my purview. She sent me to a Lyme specialist. And because I'd had it for so long, it had taken almost 5 years to get that diagnosis. The Lyme specialist said, look, generally with people who've been suffering for this long, antibiotics don't work. We could give them to you, you'll feel a little bit better while you're taking them, but as soon as you stop, it's all going to come back. And this has now been documented, the CDC, if you go on their website and you can look up Lyme disease, they talk about now, basically it's like this, you know how there's long COVID? Well, basically that exists for Lyme disease as well. The Lyme disease parasite is called a spirochete. It can change its form and structure to hide in different places in the body that the immune system can't get to it. So it's very evolutionarily advanced. From a scientific perspective, it's really fascinating. But from a person who suffers from it, not so much. So the Lyme specialist started me on something called the Cowden protocol. I'm not a doctor. I'm not recommending this to anybody. I'm not recommending any kind of treatment. I'm just telling you what I did and what worked for me. It is a whole bunch of antimicrobial treatments that basically eliminate the parasite from your system as much as can be done. It takes a long time. I think I was on that protocol for about 18 months the first time. And it works. It's working because what happens is it's the same if you take antibiotics for Lyme disease. What happens is you have what are called Herxheimer's reactions. And this is not specific just to Lyme, but it's, as the antibiotic or the antimicrobials go in and kill off the organism, those organisms then leave like a toxin in the body. And until you can get that out of the body, your body reacts to that. And so a Herxheimer reaction is usually, at least for me, it was racing heart, severe nausea, chills, kind of a fever-like symptoms, sometimes crushing headache, but and also the worst part of all of it is this like feeling of anxiety and like you're losing your mind. It's really uncomfortable. It's a horrible feeling. But when you have that, you realize, oh, I've just done a massive die off of the organism. So the idea of the Cowden protocol, which is better in a lot of ways than the antibiotics, because with the antibiotics, it's like, here's your dose and you just take it. With the Cowden protocol, you start small and you work your way up. So you're not hit with this mass die-off of organisms right at the beginning. So it's a slower process, but it helps the body adapt a little bit more. And so anyway, long story short, I could do a whole video on just that, but over time, it helped. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about my body, about what symptoms mean what. And so a couple of, I'll actually say more than like 6 months ago or more, I started having a lot of tingling and like neuropathy symptoms that I had when I had Lyme in my hands and my arms, and keep me up at night, a lot of pain. And I kept thinking, oh, it's because I'm working so much out at the farm, or I'm maybe I've developed carpal tunnel and I'm knitting so much for this book or whatever. But in the back of my mind, it was like, well, but you also have some other symptoms. But I didn't, I wasn't really yet ready to put that together. And then I started having problems with other joints. And then about a week ago, my right knee, just out of the blue, started taking on fluid again. It's really sore. It's hot. I have not been injured. This is exactly what happened before. I have a severe fatigue again. I'm not sleeping well at night again. Having problems with foods that don't usually bother me. So all of the symptoms are coming back. And so I'm not scared. I knew this was a possibility because when you have a chronic illness, you get these relapses and flare-ups and stuff. So a couple days ago, yesterday, I restarted the Cowden protocol. So it's going to take a while, but I'm hopeful that I'll be able to knock it back. And the good news is I know what I'm doing now because I've already been through this and I've caught it way earlier than in the past. And it's a good time of year if it's going to happen. At least now it's not my busy time, right? I've got everything in the ground, like, you know, things are pretty set. I can kind of spend the winter healing and then come back, you know, full force in the spring. So I'm not debilitated right now. Like I can function, and during the day, other than being really, really tired, the movement is really good for me. So another problem that happens with people with chronic illnesses, and Lyme disease is one of them, is that your lymphatic system kind of gets sluggish. And when you're not feeling well, anytime you're sick with anything, you lay around a lot, right? Well, the lymphatic system is not like your circulatory system. There's no pump for it. So in order to move lymph through your system, you actually have to move your body. And so me being out moving around during the day, even if an hour of that tires me out, but at least it's movement. And that helps because if you can move fluids through your lymphatic system, you can flush it of the toxins that are building up as you're killing off all of these spirochetes. So a little bit of a weird science lesson. I know lots of people out there deal with Lyme disease, and I know everybody has a different way of dealing with it. I know everybody has a different feeling about doctors that they've used and all that kind of stuff. I'm not here to start a debate or, you know, take advice and all that kind of stuff. I've been through this, and I've been told I was wrong by many doctors who were unhappy with the route that I went. So I'm not here to rehash all that. I'm just here to be honest. So right now I'm going to take the bit of energy that I have and I'm going to go do my measurements and make a plan on my paper with a pen and see what we can do about getting these end walls up on this hoop house, because I will sleep so much easier this weekend and enjoy the rain so much and the wind if I know that my beehive are safe because I've attached the plastic securely to an end wall. All right, so let's go get measuring. So got a little sidetracked because Jamie came out and we did some work checking on the bees. They're doing okay. There are still a lot of bees in there. There's not much activity going on, but it's also a cloudy day. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to make some sugar blocks for them. And I actually also put a bunch of syrup in the feeder that I have in one of the hives. So at least they'll have something. I think they're going to need it because the boxes are really lightweight, meaning there's not much honey in there, so they don't have enough for the winter. So that's my plan for this afternoon. But I did get measurements, and so now I'm off to see if I can get some of the lumber. I think the longest length I need is 10 feet, which I can fit in the car and not have to strap to the roof, but I'll see if my husband has a break and we can go get what I need, and then he can strap it on, come back out here, drop it off, and then he can get back to work. So that is where I'm going next. So instead of getting wood today, we are going to get it tomorrow morning, Saturday morning, because I wasn't going to do any more work out there today. My joints are hurting pretty bad. So instead, I'm going to quickly pot up 2 pots that I have here at the house with some big giant daffodil bulbs. Look at the size of these things. Okay, look at that. They're just huge. And some of them have 3 connected. So I was heading out to the backyard and then I got stopped in my tracks because I wanted to show you one of our many Japanese maples that is turning right now on the property. They're so pretty. Just look at that. Look how gorgeous. And then its friend right there underneath our redwood tree. That one down there won't get super bright, but we have a few in the backyard that will be pretty bright. We'll go see those. Like this one. Look at that. I mean, it like glows. It's crazy. So pretty. So pretty. This guy doesn't really turn much. It just kind of gets a little rusty and then the leaves fall. And this one also looks like it's glowing. This area is kind of dark in the backyard because of all of the trees. So that looks so pretty. It's really a bright spot from the kitchen. I mean, from the living room, you can see it. It's just like bang, pop of color. And then we have this guy over here. It's a gorgeous tree, which will also turn kind of a bright golden color. So the other thing I wanted to show you is in here. So I have a lot of succulents that we enjoy out in our patio during the summer, but they can't take the rain because we have a dry season and a rainy season, and we're going into our rainy season. And I unfortunately forgot to pick them up with our first rains. We got a 1/4 inch, which is wonderful, but they're saturated. So normally what I do is I stick them under the eaves on our side porch, which is fine because they can totally handle the cold. They just kind of go dormant. But I'm like, well, I have the greenhouse, so let's just put them in the greenhouse. So today I picked them up, except for two. There's 2 pots that are just way too heavy for me. They weigh about probably 60 pounds a piece. I just can't lift them, especially now with my joints having issues. But everything else is in here, so I'll show you where I've got it set up. Ain't nothing too fancy. I mean, these guys are going to sit right here. Those are both pretty heavy too, probably about 30 pounds a piece, but they're resting on top of a 2x4, so I think they're going to be all right. And then this shelving unit now has the rest of the succulents. They're all looking pretty good. You know, in the late spring, after we are done with our rains and there's no more frost, I will clean these guys up, replace add some more rocks, make them all look nice and tidy, and put them back out. This pothos is going to go inside soon. I keep forgetting to bring it in, and it's been getting down into the 30s at night, but I guess it stays warm enough in here. All those alyssum down there I was supposed to put in the ground. Haven't had a chance to. I have no idea if they're going to overwinter or not. I mean, they're in big enough pots, but we'll see. And then these are all still seedlings that have been started to go out to the farm, or here. I still have bed space here, so I don't know, we'll see. I started them when I realized that we were going to have farm space, but I don't know that they'll be big enough to put in the ground. I don't know, it'll be an experiment. Maybe I'll just pop them in anyway and see how they do. But they still need another probably 2 weeks in these blocks. It's taking them longer to grow taller now because it's colder, so they need a longer period of time in order to put on some growth. Totally forgot I had these guys out here. These have to go in the greenhouse as well. So I took out a bunch of stuff that was kind of rotting and falling apart. But there's still plenty of forage, seed heads and stuff for birds, places to hide. I'm still so happy about these Dusty Miller because I grew them from seed, and I've been able to supply weddings this year from them. They just look so great. So I'm really happy with that. And then all these crazy salvia that are still pumping. Some catmint and some other stuff in here. And then I also have planted, well, first of all of those seedlings down there, isn't that crazy? Those are all foxglove. If you'll remember, I think I showed you, if you shake a foxglove seed head, there are thousands and thousands of seeds, so they just self-sow, and they are biennials. So these guys here will just be plants this coming year, and then the following year they'll give me some flowers. Okay, so these 2 blue containers are the ones that I'm going to plant up with daffodils. All of these beds have hundreds of daffodil bulbs in them, so we're not going to put more. So Oh, if these were tulips, I would really pack them in here, but they're not. They are, hi Raven, they're daffodils. I'm gonna bury them deep and so that they can just stay in here and they will naturalize, spread. But all this super dry soil needs to come out. These are root balls from stuff I had in here in the summertime. Okay, I think I can fit probably about 6 in here. I want to give them space so they can spread. Yeah, so just like that. And I will cover them up with soil, and then there'll still be space to plant small annuals in here in the summertime. Okay, I'm not gonna bother watering those guys in because we're about to get 4 days of rain and, you know, it'll take care of itself. So I'm gonna wrap this video up. Thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.